Okay, so topic 2, section 3. The first day we're just going to review all sorts of different types of factoring. And so this is going to be a nice resource video of how to factor, but also there's some more quick links on my Canvas page on the topic 2 calendar that are going to be really helpful if you're struggling with factoring. So factoring, you are actually, so like this first one right here where we're factoring this expression, you're looking for what multiplies to C and adds to B. So again, remember that we have A times x squared plus B times x plus C. So again, we are looking for what multiplies, to C and adds to B. So in this first one right here, we're looking for something that multiplies to 12 and adds to 7. So my first step is I'm going to write out the multiples of 12. So we have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And then that's all the multiples of 12. And now I'm going to look for what adds to 7. So 1 plus 12 would be 13, 2 plus 6, 8, 3 plus 4 would be 7. So these are my two numbers that I'm going to be working with. And when I'm factoring this, I'm looking for something that does x and then in parentheses x. And since we have two plus signs here, these are both going to be addition. And then 3 and 4 is what goes inside. So a positive 3 and a positive 4 would add to positive 7. And so this right here is our answer. And how we would check it is if we FOILed. So if we wanted to check this, so I'm going to write it this way so we can see it, check. We would FOIL. So we would do the x times x, and that would give us x squared. And then x times the 4 would give us 4x. 3 times x, 3x. 3 times 4 would give us 12. And then combining our like terms, yeah, we would get it. So we would have x squared plus 7x plus 12. So that shows that this right here is our final answer. Okay, so let's look down at actually we're going to kind of go out of order. So I know this is B, but we're actually going to go to C. Because these two, if you look, A is 1. So there's no little number in the front. And that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. So let's look at this one here. And again, we are going to find what multiplies to negative 10 and adds to negative 3. So negative 10. So we have 1 and negative 10, or we could do negative 1 and positive 10. We could have 2 and a negative 5, or negative 2 and positive 5. And that's all the multiples to get to negative 10. And now I need to see which of these, when I add, would get negative 3. So this would give us negative 9. This right here, 2 and negative 5, yeah, that would give us negative 3. So those are the ones we're going to be using. So again, we have x, and then x, and then we have a positive 2, so plus 2, and then a minus 5. And again, we could check it by multiplying or FOILing. So that's that answer. So these ones, you're just looking for what multiplies to C and adds to B. Okay, now let's look at this one here. So again, we're going out of order, and I know that. So 3x squared minus 18x minus 48. So if we look, this little 3 in the front is going to make it different than these ones up here. So if there's a number in the front, if you have an a greater than 1, you want to first look and see if you can factor that out, which means does the 3 go evenly into all the terms? And for this one, it does. So I can take everything here and divide by 3. Let me make this a little bit skinnier. So again, 3 goes evenly into all of these, and so I'm going to write it with 3 on the outside, because I'm taking a 3 out. And then what would be left would be x squared. Negative 18 divided by 3 would give us negative 6x. 48 divided by 3 would give us negative 16. And so this is now looking like this, except for the 3 on the outside. And we're just going to bring the 3 with us. So again, we're looking for what multiplies to negative 16. So we could have 1 and negative 16. Or we could have negative 1 and 16, 2 and negative 8, negative 2 and positive 8, 4 and negative 4, and that would be it. So now we're looking for what adds to negative 6, and that would be this one right here. So now we have our 3 that comes down, and then we're going to have our 2 sets that we just found, so x and x, and then plus 2 minus 8, and that is our answer here. Now let's look at this one. So our a is bigger than 1, it's 2. So see if it goes evenly into all of them, and we can see that it does not go evenly into 5. So evenly meaning like a whole number. So we're not going to just go ahead and divide everything by 2. We're going to have to do something different. We're going to have to find something that we're going to have to do the factors of a times c that add to b. So we're going to do 2 times negative 3. So we're looking for factors of negative 6. I'll write it over here. Negative 6. So we have 1 and negative 6, or we could have negative 1 and positive 6, 2 and negative 3, or negative 2, positive 3. Okay, and then we're going to look for what would get negative 5. So, sorry, these were our factors, so you can write it in blue if you wanted to color code for everything else. I'm so sorry. Okay, and then again, we're looking for what adds to negative 5, and that would be the 1 and negative 6. So now we're going to take this and we're going to rewrite it. So instead of writing them straight into the parentheses, we're actually going to rewrite. So what it's going to look like is we're going to bring our 2x squared down like this, and then we're going to use these that we just found. So the plus 1x and the minus 6x, and then we're going to bring down that minus 3. Okay, and we're not done because, again, it's not looking like the factored form. It's not completely factored. And so we actually have another step that we have to do now. And I'm going to get a different color here. So now we actually have to do what's called factor by grouping. So we're going to group these, and then we're going to factor those terms separately. So we're actually going to group the first 2 together, and then we're going to group the last 2 together. And then we're going to factor it separately. So we're going to be looking at just this 2x squared plus 1x first. And we're going to find the biggest thing they have in common. And so 2 doesn't go evenly into 1. So 1 would be the greatest common factor of 2 and 1. And the greatest common factor of x squared and x would just be x. So we have x here, and then what would be left would go in the inside. So 2x squared divided by x would just be 2x. And then this divided by x would just be a plus 1. And then we do the same process over here. So what's the biggest thing they have in common? And it would, anytime there's a negative here, pull out that negative. So for here, we're going to pull out a negative, and then this 6 and 3, the biggest they have in common is a 3. And we're going to pull that out. So 2x, and then we pulled out a negative, so that becomes a positive 1. And a good quick little way to see if you did it right is this right here, and this, the inside of the parentheses should be the same. And then our final answer is you taking the x right here, so x, and then this minus 3, and those go in parentheses, and then you just write the ones that are already in parentheses once. And this right here is your final answer. So go ahead and pause the video and try these ones, and then check your answers. So here's A and B, and again, these ones were just the what multiplies to C and adds to B. This one did kind of look a little different, but in the middle it's just saying 0x, so we had a negative 3 and a positive 3. So go ahead and look over those, and if you have any questions, you can email me. And then let's go ahead and do these first steps. So you're going to look for what multiplies to 6, because again, we're doing this 2 and this 3. And then we're going to look for what adds to B. So we're going to do the multiples of 6. So here's the multiples, and we want what adds to negative 7. So these ones right here, negative 1 and negative 6. So now, remember, we rewrite it as 3x squared, and then we write negative 1x and minus 6x and plus 2. And then group your factoring. So again, pause the video and try that. Okay, and again, you know that you've done it right if the 2 inside the parentheses match. So this final answer would be the x minus 2 and then 3x minus 1. Go ahead and do the same thing that we just did with that last one. So here's the multiples, and we want it to add to negative 17. So that's going to be this one right here. Now rewrite it with those. Okay, and then factor by grouping. So we only have an x in common here, so that's going to be 2x minus 5. And then here we would have a negative 6, and that would be 2x minus 5. Again, inside the parentheses is the same. Now we just rewrite it, x minus 6 times 2x minus 5. And so there is our answers for those 4. And that's it for day 1 of section 3. I do want to point out, like, if you had written this negative 6x and then minus 1, you still would have gotten to the same answer at the end. And same here, if you would have done negative 12x minus 5x, you would have gotten the same answer at the end. Thanks for watching.